Chosen one, listen carefully. This is not motivation, this is a warning. Allah is about to test you through someone close to you, someone you trust, someone whose words can reach your heart. This test will not look like danger, it will look like concern, advice, familiarity, even love. But if you react emotionally, if you explain yourself, if you lower your standards or compromise your obedience to Allah, you risk delaying everything He has been preparing for you. This is an emergency moment. What you do next will decide whether you rise or repeat a painful cycle. Stay with me, because these 10 lessons may protect your heart, expose the test before it reaches you, and help you pass a moment that could change your destiny forever. Chosen one, understand this deeply and do not overlook it. When Allah prepares you for elevation, the test almost never comes from strangers. It comes through familiar faces, trusted voices, and hearts you never suspected would challenge you. This is because the strongest tests are not loud attacks, but emotional trials wrapped in closeness, advice, concern, and history. Allah allows someone near you to question your path, misunderstand your silence, doubt your intentions, or gently pull you back toward an old version of yourself to see whether your loyalty is truly anchored in Him or still tied to people's approval. The danger of this test is subtle because familiarity lowers your guard and emotions blur discernment. You may feel the urge to explain yourself, defend your heart, or compromise just to keep peace, but this is exactly where many fail without realizing it. Allah is watching whether you will react emotionally or respond with wisdom, whether you will prioritize comfort over obedience or truth over attachment. These moments are not about proving who is right, they are about revealing who is ready. If you pass, Allah strengthens your intuition, sharpens your boundaries, and quietly removes what cannot follow you into your next level. If you fail, the lesson repeats until your heart learns that closeness does not always mean alignment. Remain calm, remain silent when needed, and remain firm in what Allah has already shown you, because tests from familiar faces are not meant to break you, they are meant to refine you before honor arrives. Chosen one, this lesson is painful but necessary to accept if you are to move forward without emotional chains. Not everyone who starts the journey with you is meant to finish it with you, and Allah, in His wisdom, allows this realization to surface right before elevation. Some people are assigned to your early chapters to support, to test, to teach, but not to remain when responsibility, clarity, and weight increase. When Allah begins to raise you, certain hearts grow uncomfortable, certain behaviors shift, and certain connections strain, not because you changed in the wrong way, but because your growth no longer matches their capacity. This is not betrayal, and it is not cruelty. It is alignment being corrected by divine order. The danger is when you try to drag people into seasons Allah did not assign them to, out of loyalty, memories, or fear of being alone. Doing so delays your destiny and drains your strength. Allah removes people gently at first through distance, misunderstanding, or silence. But if you resist, He removes them firmly. The chosen one does not chase explanations, beg for consistency, or shrink to maintain access. He trusts that Allah knows who can survive the weight of His future. Letting go is not a loss, it is obedience. What leaves now makes space for what is meant to arrive, and what remains after separation is what Allah Himself has approved to walk beside you to the end. Chosen one, recognize this truth before it costs you progress, The trap in this test is not what is being said or done to you, but how emotionally you respond to it. Shaitan does not need to destroy you through major sins if he can derail you through emotional reactions, anger, hurt, defensiveness, or the desperate need to be understood. When someone close provokes you, questions your sincerity, or misrepresents your silence, the natural urge is to react, to explain, to defend your heart. But this is exactly where the test is hidden. Allah is watching whether you will surrender your self-control for temporary emotional relief or hold your composure for long-term elevation. Emotional reactions leak spiritual power. They expose your intentions to people who are not meant to carry them and hand control to those testing you. The chosen one learns that silence is often safer than speech, restraint stronger than reaction, and patience louder than any argument. When you master your emotions, you remove people's ability to manipulate you, and when manipulation fails, the test collapses. Allah elevates those who respond with wisdom instead of impulse, because leadership in Islam begins with self-control. Pass this lesson, and you will notice something powerful. People lose their grip over your heart. Clarity replaces confusion, and Allah Himself steps in to defend what you refused to defend emotionally. Chosen one, listen to this with your heart fully present, because this lesson is one of the most dangerous crossroads a servant of Allah will ever face. This test was never about the words spoken to you, the behavior shown toward you, or even the person standing in front of you. It is entirely about where your loyalty truly lies, when obedience to Allah begins to cost you comfort, relationships, and emotional safety. Allah, in His perfect wisdom, places His chosen servants in moments where pleasing people and pleasing Him can no longer coexist, where compromise is disguised as kindness, and disobedience is wrapped in the language of understanding, balance, and peace. Someone close to you may ask you to delay what Allah told you to do, soften a boundary Allah made clear, return to something He already freed you from, or stay silent about truth just to keep harmony. But understand this clearly. Every time you choose people over Allah in moments like this, you do not gain peace, you lose alignment. This is how many sincere hearts slowly drift without realizing it, not through open rebellion, but through repeated small sacrifices of obedience made to avoid discomfort, rejection, or loneliness. Allah is watching whether your faith stands firm when approval is removed, whether your submission remains intact when support disappears, and whether your trust in Him is stronger than your fear of losing people. Loyalty to Allah does not mean harshness or arrogance. It means consistency when it is easier to bend, patience when it is tempting to explain yourself, and courage when silence feels heavy. This test exposes whether your relationship with Allah is central or conditional, whether He is your anchor or one option among many voices influencing your decisions. When you choose Allah in these moments, even though it hurts, something unseen begins to shift. Your heart becomes lighter, your clarity sharper, and your reliance on people weaker. Allah starts protecting you in ways you do not immediately recognize, removing hidden traps, blocking future harm, and preserving your honor behind the scenes. Yes, choosing Allah may isolate you temporarily, but it never leaves you empty, because Allah replaces what you give up for Him with strength, wisdom, and a dignity that cannot be shaken by human opinion. This is the moment where Allah decides whether you are ready to be trusted with more responsibility, more influence, more spiritual authority, because leadership in Islam is not given to those who blend truth to fit crowds, but to those who stand with Allah even when standing alone. Hold firm, chosen one, because every time you choose Allah over people, you are not losing anything, you are proving that your heart belongs where honor truly comes from. Chosen one, understand this with depth and maturity, because this lesson separates emotional believers from spiritually grounded ones. Allah often uses people, not circumstances, to measure the true strength within your heart. Trials through people are far more revealing than trials through hardship, because hardship pushes you toward Allah, but people test whether you can remain with Allah while being provoked, misunderstood, pressured, or hurt. Someone may disrespect you, doubt you, take advantage of your kindness, or challenge your boundaries, and Allah allows it not because He is unaware, but because He is observing what lives inside you under pressure. Inner strength in Islam is not proven by dominance, loudness, or winning arguments. It is proven by restraint, patience, clarity, and control. Allah watches whether you react impulsively or respond with wisdom, whether you allow emotions to hijack your principles, or whether you stay anchored when your feelings are stirred. Many think strength means confronting, correcting, or exposing, but often true strength is walking away without bitterness, remaining dignified without applause, and holding your ground without needing validation. When Allah uses people to test you, He is measuring how much power they still have over your emotions, how deeply your self-worth is rooted in Him, and whether your patience is situational or sincere. These moments reveal whether you have mastered yourself or are still mastered by reactions. Every time you choose calm over chaos, silence over argument, and principle over impulse, Allah records growth within you that cannot be taken away. You may feel unseen in these moments, but know that Allah is watching closely, and every restrained reaction strengthens your spiritual muscles. This is how Allah prepares His chosen servants for leadership, because those who cannot control themselves under provocation cannot be trusted with responsibility. Passing this lesson does not always change people around you, but it permanently changes you. Your tolerance sharpens, your boundaries strengthen, and your reliance on Allah deepens. Allah is not trying to harden your heart. He is fortifying it, so that when greater responsibilities arrive, you will not be shaken by people, praise, criticism, or pressure. Inner strength is built quietly, measured privately, and rewarded publicly by Allah at the time He chooses. Chosen one, this lesson is one of the most profound signs that Allah is preparing you for a level few can comprehend, because not explaining yourself is not weakness, it is divine strategy, a reflection that your spiritual rank is rising even if people cannot see it yet. Allah places you in situations where misunderstanding, misjudgment, and accusation come from those close to you, testing whether your peace, patience, and trust in Him are stronger than your desire to be understood. At lower levels of spiritual growth, the impulse to explain, clarify, justify, or defend yourself is natural because your sense of identity is often tied to people's perception, and your heart seeks validation and recognition. But the chosen one begins to realize that every moment spent trying to convince someone of your intentions is a moment lost from spiritual elevation, a diversion from the work Allah is preparing you to do, and a vulnerability that allows Shaitan to plant seeds of doubt, regret, and distraction. When Allah elevates a servant, He begins to shield them in ways that are invisible. The need to prove yourself diminishes, The weight of others' misunderstanding no longer presses on your heart, and your energy shifts entirely to obedience, focus, and trust in Him. Not explaining yourself becomes a test of surrender, a demonstration that your inner validation comes from Allah alone, and that your patience is not conditional on recognition or approval. In this stage, silence is not emptiness, it is armor, protection, and proof of wisdom. Every misjudgment thrown at you becomes a reminder that Allah is the only one who truly knows your heart, your intentions, and your journey. And every moment of quiet endurance builds unseen spiritual weight that cannot be measured by human eyes. The closer someone is to you, the more dangerous this test becomes, because the pull to clarify, soften, or compromise is strongest when emotions are entangled with familiarity, shared history, and mutual trust. Allah allows this precisely to show whether you are growing beyond dependence on human approval or still bound by it, whether your heart is ready to operate on His wisdom alone, and whether your spiritual authority is ready to expand without interference from misunderstanding or gossip. Choosing silence, remaining dignified, and refusing to justify yourself in these moments is not passivity, it is a conscious, deliberate act of obedience, and it is a sign of spiritual promotion, because Allah only entrusts greater responsibility and honor to hearts that can carry truth without needing to prove it to everyone. As you master this lesson, you will notice a subtle but profound shift. People's opinions will matter less, emotional turbulence will no longer dictate your actions, and your focus will be sharper, more aligned with your purpose, and less distracted by the fleeting judgments of those around you. This is the stage where Allah begins to prepare you for roles of leadership, influence, and spiritual responsibility, because a heart that no longer needs to explain itself cannot be shaken, cannot be manipulated, and cannot be distracted from the work Allah has destined it to complete. Not explaining yourself becomes a marker of readiness, a signal that your growth is moving beyond the realm of human validation and entering the domain of divine preparation, where only Allah's recognition matters and His timing governs every step of your path. Chosen one, embrace this silence, hold your dignity, and resist the temptation to justify yourself, because in this restraint lies your elevation, your protection, and the proof that Allah is silently, steadily preparing you for greater things than you have yet imagined. The eyes that see your outward actions may misunderstand, the voices that speak may misrepresent, but the heart that trusts Allah is never mistaken, and every moment of quiet endurance becomes a weight of unseen merit, a shield against trials, and a foundation for the honor, clarity, and responsibility that Allah is about to place upon you. This lesson is not easy because it requires patience beyond ordinary endurance, but it is one of the clearest indicators that your spiritual promotion is underway, that your elevation is imminent, and that Allah's plan for you is moving forward, even when the world does not understand your silence, your restraint, or your unwavering loyalty to Him. Chosen one, understand this with your heart wide open, because this lesson carries the weight of destiny itself. When Allah begins the process of elevating His chosen servants, He first separates them from what no longer serves their higher purpose, from what cannot walk with them, into the responsibilities, clarity, and authority that lie ahead. Separation is rarely comfortable, and it often comes through people you trusted, relationships you valued, routines you clung to, and circumstances you thought were permanent. Allah allows this separation not as punishment, not as cruelty, but as preparation. He is clearing the path so that when the next level of favor, responsibility, and spiritual insight arrives, there is no distraction, no compromise, and no risk of regression. The closer someone was to you, the more this test will feel like loss, betrayal, or abandonment, and that is precisely the point. The test is not just about patience, it is about your loyalty, your discernment, and your capacity to trust Allah above all else. Many fail this stage because they attempt to hold on to people or situations out of habit, comfort, or fear, believing that leaving them behind means losing blessings. But the truth is the opposite. Allah removes what cannot follow you in order to make room for the blessings, responsibilities, and divine appointments that cannot arrive while your energy, focus, or heart is divided. When someone close becomes distant, critical, or inconsistent, do not assume this is the end. See it as a divine recalibration, a subtle push that ensures your path remains clear for what is truly meant for you. This separation may be silent, an unnoticed drift, a subtle disagreement, a growing misalignment, or it may be dramatic, leaving you stunned, hurt, or questioning your worth. But know this: the pain is temporary, the lesson is permanent, and the elevation that follows will make every moment of discomfort a moment of preparation. Chosen one, resist the urge to chase back, to explain, or to cling. Every act of holding on to what Allah has begun to move away from delays your readiness for the next stage. Trust that Allah's wisdom is perfect and that His timing is precise. The relationships, opportunities, and environments that remain after separation are the ones that can sustain your elevation. The ones that leave are the ones that could have sabotaged it. Separation is a sign of divine protection, not abandonment. Every distance created, every door closed, and every withdrawal experienced is a signal that Allah is clearing the stage for your honor, your spiritual authority, and your destiny to unfold without interference, distraction, or compromise. Those who pass this test do not lament the loss, they embrace it silently, understanding that Allah is working behind the scenes, orchestrating every outcome, and positioning them for a level of elevation that requires clarity, solitude, and focus. The process may feel lonely at times, but it is a profound blessing in disguise. Trust in the separation, for it is as essential as the elevation itself. Every moment of detachment is a moment of spiritual refining, a strengthening of your discernment, and a preparation of your heart and soul to receive what Allah has destined. Chosen one, understand that separation is never random, never meaningless, and never a reflection of your worth. It is a divine signal that you are ready to rise, and that what follows will be far greater than what has been left behind. Embrace the space, honor the lesson, and hold fast to Allah, for it is in this carefully orchestrated separation that your next stage of honor, clarity, and spiritual influence is quietly being prepared. Chosen one, listen carefully, because this lesson is not just a trial, it is a threshold that separates those who are prepared for divine elevation from those who are distracted by the temporary and the visible. This is the moment when Allah measures whether your trust in Him is real, unshakable, and rooted in His perfect knowledge, not in the comfort of what you can see or the approval of what you understand. The unseen is where your faith is tested, because the greatest trials in life come not from what is obvious, but from what is hidden. A whisper behind your back, a subtle change in a loved one's attitude, a door closing without explanation, a situation shifting without warning. Allah allows this because the chosen one cannot grow if every sign is clear, every intention is visible, and every outcome is guaranteed. True elevation requires reliance on Allah alone, on His plan, His timing, and His wisdom, which often appear invisible to the human eye. You may feel confused, hurt, or abandoned when someone close to you behaves differently, distances themselves, or challenges your principles, but this is exactly the environment Allah is using to purify your trust. The unseen test is designed to strip away dependency on comfort, familiarity, or the validation of others, because these are the very things that can delay your destiny if they are allowed to influence your obedience and patience. You are being measured on whether you will act with fear, compromise, or doubt, or whether you will act with patience, faith, and surrender. When you cannot see the outcome, when you do not know who will remain or who will leave, when your path is clouded by uncertainty, Allah watches how you hold your heart. Do you trust His decree? Do you rely on His knowledge? And do you maintain your obedience even in the silence of uncertainty? This test may feel isolating because humans crave visibility. They want signs, confirmation, and clarity. But the chosen one learns that reliance on Allah is not about what you can see. It is about what you believe is true, even when the world contradicts it. Every doubt you resist, every fear you do not act upon, and every temptation to compromise in the absence of clarity builds unseen strength, spiritual maturity, and inner authority that cannot be measured by worldly standards. The closer the test is to your heart, the more intense it feels, because Allah knows that those He is elevating will be entrusted with responsibilities that require vision beyond perception and certainty beyond evidence. You may see someone you trusted drift away or act in ways that confuse you, and you may feel the pull to react, question, or control. But the chosen one understands that all reactions are recorded and that restraint, trust, and reliance are far more valuable than immediate understanding or emotional satisfaction. This trial teaches that patience in the unseen is a sign of divine proximity, that surrender when clarity is absent is proof of spiritual maturity, and that faith in Allah's plan is stronger than any human attachment, opinion, or interference. By trusting the unseen, you are aligning with a reality that only Allah fully comprehends. You are preparing yourself to receive blessings, responsibilities, and favor that cannot coexist with doubt, fear, or emotional turbulence. The unseen test reveals not only your trust in Allah, but also your readiness to be a vessel for divine wisdom, a channel for leadership, and a bearer of spiritual influence that requires composure, clarity, and reliance on divine guidance, not human reassurance. Every unanswered question, every delayed outcome, and every hidden trial is an opportunity to demonstrate that your heart is anchored in Allah alone, that your obedience does not fluctuate with circumstances, and that your faith does not rely on visibility or validation. Chosen one, understand that the unseen is not your enemy, it is your training ground. What you cannot see is exactly where Allah is strengthening you, refining you, and preparing you for elevation that will astonish both yourself and the world. Do not rush to make sense of everything. Do not act hastily based on fear or doubt, and do not rely on what appears to be true to the human eye, because Allah's wisdom transcends perception. His timing is perfect, and His plan for you is greater than what anyone else can comprehend. Every moment spent in trust, patience, and silence in the unseen strengthens your spiritual muscles, aligns your soul with divine timing, and positions you to receive what Allah has prepared without distraction, hesitation, or compromise. This trial is not punishment, it is preparation. Those who pass the test of the unseen become unshakable, their hearts anchored in divine wisdom, their spirits fortified against deception, and their paths illuminated by guidance that only the eyes of faith can perceive. Chosen one, do not underestimate the power of trusting in what is hidden, for the unseen is where your destiny is being shaped, where your elevation is being forged, and where Allah is proving that you are ready to carry the weight of responsibility, honor, and influence that He has destined for you, even when no one else witnesses your endurance or understands your struggle. Chosen one, understand this deeply, because this lesson marks a turning point in your journey, passing the test that comes through someone close, through hidden provocations, misunderstandings, and emotional pressure, is not just a personal victory, it is a gateway to divine protection that manifests in ways you cannot yet fully see. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, uses these trials as a filter, a measure, and a preparation, determining who is ready to be entrusted with higher ranks, greater responsibility, and spiritual authority that requires clarity, patience, and unwavering loyalty to Him alone. When you face challenges from those who were once trusted, when loyalty is questioned, boundaries are tested, and emotions are stirred, this is not merely a human conflict, it is a divine calibration, a subtle but powerful mechanism through which Allah evaluates your heart, your restraint, and your adherence to obedience. Many falter at this stage, mistaking emotional reaction for strength, explanation for wisdom, or compromise for diplomacy. But the chosen one understands that the test is never about the person confronting them. It is about whether their faith, patience, and trust in Allah remain intact when external validation fades and human support diminishes. Passing this trial is what activates divine protection, for Allah shields those who resist compromise, who remain dignified in silence, who trust Him over the opinions, manipulations, and misunderstandings of those around them. This protection is subtle at first. Situations that could harm you collapse, misleading intentions are exposed, and doors that would have led to distraction or loss close quietly, while doors aligned with your destiny remain open. The unseen shield of Allah surrounds you, ensuring that the energy you invested in patience, restraint, and trust is not wasted but multiplied, and that every act of obedience is safeguarded against distortion, misrepresentation, or attack. Divine protection is not passive, it is active, strategic, and perfectly timed. Those who pass the test will notice that threats they feared lose their power, conversations that once triggered anxiety no longer disturb them, and the influence of others over their heart diminishes naturally, without effort or confrontation. This is the sign of elevation, when Allah begins defending you in ways that are invisible to the human eye, when He orchestrates outcomes that favor your position, and when the trials themselves transform into vehicles of growth and honor. The protection is holistic. It safeguards your spiritual state, your emotional clarity, your reputation, and your ability to act in alignment with divine guidance, ensuring that your path to destiny is uninterrupted by the chaos, manipulation, or misunderstanding that once surrounded you. Chosen one, recognize that this is not luck, coincidence or human kindness. It is the manifestation of Allah's promise that He protects those who choose Him above all else. Every attempt to provoke, deceive, or test you that you withstand becomes a layer of this shield. Every moment you remain patient in the face of subtle treachery strengthens it. Those who fail to endure may feel the weight of human opinion, misalignment, and relational disruption, but those who remain firm find that the very forces that could have harmed them are redirected, neutralized, or exposed, while their path is illuminated with clarity, opportunity, and divine favor. The activation of this protection is both immediate and gradual. Immediate in that the trials lose their grip over your heart the moment you choose trust over reaction, and gradual in that Allah begins to align unseen forces, people, circumstances, timing, and opportunities to secure your elevation without human intervention or interference. This protection also teaches you an essential principle of divine law, that the one who relies on Allah, who refuses to justify, explain, or compromise, and who maintains patience in the unseen, is never truly alone, never truly vulnerable, and never truly without support. What others could have done to harm you is now transformed into what Allah uses to strengthen you. What they intended as challenge becomes your training ground, and what seemed like loss becomes a shield for honor, clarity, and divine positioning. Chosen one, every time you endure provocation without lowering your standards, every time you resist the urge to justify your intentions, and every time you choose Allah over human approval, you are not merely surviving, you are activating a protective network that transcends human understanding, one that surrounds your heart, mind, soul, and circumstances with divine precision. This is the true meaning of passing the test. It is not simply a demonstration of patience, restraint, or loyalty. It is a sign that Allah has deemed you worthy of protection and that He is now preparing to guard you from harm, guide your steps, and elevate you in ways that no one can see or anticipate. Divine protection is an outcome of obedience, trust, and endurance. It is the reward for choosing Allah over emotional reaction, human expectation, and worldly comfort. It manifests in unseen ways, transforming trials into shields, threats into lessons, and separation into preparation. The chosen one who passes this test begins to move through life under a divine umbrella that preserves their purpose, amplifies their influence, and secures their destiny, ensuring that every step taken in obedience is safe, supported, and aligned with Allah's perfect plan. This protection is not just for the present moment, it is ongoing, a permanent recalibration of your spiritual environment, relationships, and opportunities, designed to ensure that your elevation cannot be sabotaged by human weakness, manipulation, or misjudgment. Chosen one, understand this fully. Every challenge faced, every provocation endured, every moment of restraint exercised is an investment in this protective force, a layer of security woven directly by Allah Himself. The moment you realize this, your perspective changes. You no longer fear trials, you no longer chase validation, and you no longer compromise for comfort, because you see that divine protection is already at work, safeguarding not only your elevation, but the sacred mission Allah has entrusted to you. Passing this test is not optional, it is essential, because it activates the shield that will allow you to move forward, unshaken, empowered, and guided as Allah's chosen one, ready to fulfill the purpose He has prepared for you from eternity. Chosen one, listen carefully, because this lesson marks the culmination of everything you have endured. The threshold before Allah elevates you to levels reserved for those whose hearts are steadfast, whose patience is unwavering, and whose loyalty belongs entirely to Him. This test is the final filter before honor, the last divine trial designed to separate what is temporary from what is eternal, what is unworthy from what is destined for greatness. Allah allows people you trust to challenge you, to misjudge you, or to act in ways that stir emotions, not to punish you, but to reveal whether your allegiance is anchored in Him alone or swayed by familiarity, affection, or desire for acceptance. At this stage, the trials are subtle yet powerful. A friend may betray your trust, a loved one may question your path, a colleague may attempt to manipulate, or circumstances may appear to conspire against your peace. Every scenario is crafted with precision by Allah to expose where your heart truly lies and whether your obedience is absolute. Many stumble here, failing to recognize that the test is not about winning arguments, being understood, or correcting misconceptions. It is about remaining unshakable, dignified, and patient while the world around you shifts, sometimes in ways you cannot immediately comprehend. Chosen one, this is the defining moment where your spiritual maturity, restraint, and clarity are measured. If you pass, your honor is unlocked, your path is cleared, and your elevation is guaranteed, even if you cannot yet see the full picture. To fail is not to sin, but to allow distractions, emotional reactions, or attachments to obscure the purpose Allah has meticulously prepared for you, delaying the fulfillment of your destiny. Every test you endure at this level is invisible to human eyes, but visible to Allah's knowledge. The subtle misalignments, the quiet betrayals, the misunderstandings that pierce the heart, all of these are used as instruments to separate what is essential for your future from what could hinder your growth. The chosen one learns that honor is not given to those who are simply loyal in comfort, but to those who remain unwavering when loyalty costs them relationships, recognition, or ease. When you pass this filter, you realize that every person, every situation, and every moment of discomfort was orchestrated to refine you, remove what cannot accompany you, and prepare your heart for responsibilities, influence, and blessings that are far beyond what human understanding can perceive. This final filter also teaches an essential truth. Allah does not elevate without preparation. He does not grant honor without proving readiness, and He does not entrust responsibility without ensuring that the heart is free from attachments, distractions, and emotional dependencies that could compromise purpose. Chosen one, do not be discouraged by separation, misunderstanding, or trials at this stage, because they are not signs of loss, but signals of readiness, markers that your soul is being honed, and confirmations that your elevation is imminent. Every restraint you practice, every moment you choose patience over reaction, every time you remain silent when provoked, every act of faith in the unseen, and every choice to obey Allah rather than seek human approval is building layers of spiritual authority, protection, and readiness for the honor that is about to be bestowed upon you. This is the stage where the noise of the world falls away, where false friends are naturally filtered, and where divine clarity begins to illuminate your path in ways that human perception cannot yet grasp. Chosen one, understand that this is not coincidence. Allah has orchestrated every trial, every challenge, and every encounter to serve as this final filter. Those who pass will step into honor without confusion, into responsibility without distraction, and into influence without opposition, because the world will now recognize them as aligned with divine purpose. The final filter is merciful, protective, and precise. It ensures that only those prepared in heart, mind, and spirit will carry the weight of what Allah has planned, safeguarding their destiny from compromise, misguidance, or premature exposure. When you understand this, every trial transforms from a source of pain into a source of empowerment. Every moment of testing becomes a stepping stone toward honor, and every instance of restraint, patience, and trust becomes proof that your heart belongs fully to Allah. Chosen one, embrace this filter, endure it with courage, and hold fast to your faith, because it is through this final divine refinement that your honor, destiny, and elevated purpose are not only confirmed, but guaranteed. This is the culmination of all trials, the moment where preparation meets divine timing, where perseverance meets reward, and where your steadfastness in the unseen, your loyalty in the face of misunderstanding, and your patience through provocation unlocks a level of honor, clarity, and spiritual authority that will forever distinguish you from those who have not yet been tested in this way. Every separation, every misjudgment, and every hidden trial was designed to ensure that when you step forward, you do so with purity of intention, strength of heart, and readiness to embrace the responsibility, protection, and honor Allah has reserved for you, marking the completion of the preparation phase and the beginning of your true elevation. Chosen one, listen closely. Every trial you've faced, every misunderstanding, every subtle test from those close to you was never wasted. Allah has been quietly shaping your heart, refining your patience, and preparing you for a destiny that is far greater than what you can see. Today you've learned the signs, the lessons, and the truths that separate the prepared from the distracted, the patient from the reactive, and the loyal from the tempted. Remember this: your loyalty belongs to Allah alone, your trust must remain in the unseen, and your patience is the key that unlocks divine protection, honor, and elevation. Do not fear separation, do not seek to justify yourself, and do not compromise for comfort, because every test is a doorway to a level of influence, responsibility, and spiritual authority that is reserved only for those who endure, persevere, and remain steadfast in their faith. Chosen one, walk forward knowing that every trial you passed, every restraint you maintained, and every moment of silence you embraced is not unnoticed. It has been preparing you for honor that is unmatched, protection that is unmatched, and purpose that is unstoppable. Stand tall, remain steadfast, and carry your heart with dignity, because the world has not yet witnessed what Allah has destined for you. Your breakthrough is near, your elevation is imminent, and your honor is already secured in ways that only Allah sees. This is your moment. Step into it with faith, courage, and unwavering trust, because Allah's chosen ones are never lost, never abandoned, and always destined to rise.